Well, welcome everyone. I feel like there's a second introduction. So this is our best of both worlds from page to screen. And we have our fabulous panellists. We are one missing. We were meant to have Jade Winters. What happened to Jade? I'm not sure. But she is here in spirit anyway. She's here in spirit. And Kiki, you've brought one of her trailers to show.
Yeah. And I've got a spiel from her.
Do you?
Yeah. A bit more camp than she would give, but yeah.
I'm sure she's...
Big up Jade, yeah.
Okay, so we have, on the end we have Kiki Archer, best-selling author of lesbian fiction, but she's my student, and we've got Instigations as some of your titles. We've got Rachel Dax, who's a writer, director and producer in the middle here. Time and Again, which is your latest short film, and After the Night as well, some of her titles there. And last but not least, we've got Wollie Boehm. Am I saying that right? Boehm. Hey, I gave it my best.
You did.
Writer and filmmaker such as Risk, Alice, Simulation. This is our lovely panel. Yes. So we're going to have a bit of a chin wag because some of you guys started writing, some started in film and then switched that way. So we're going to have a little bit of a chin wag and watch some of your fabulous work as well. So we'll just start at the top, okay. Keeks. So can you just tell us, as much as you can in this short space of time, how did you start out? How did you start? And Rachel, set up, aren't you?
Yeah, but you can do that thing.
I can swipe. The three finger swipe.
Okay, so I'll do it really quickly. I'm actually
don't be quick.
A lesbian fiction author, and that's what I do. And after I think book 6 or 7, I was getting a little bit bored, and so I took myself off on a screenwriters course. It was fascinating, and it was amazing because it's so different to writing novels. And I converted my first book, But She's My Student, because it still appears to be the most popular, into a screenplay. And it was great, and I really enjoyed doing it. And then I worked with a few different producers, and they all put their spin on it and said, yes, interesting. But it always got to the point where it was all about funding. So I sort of left it, went back to the books. And then my friend Jade Winters, who is an author, she is desperate to get involved in film. It really is her passion. And she said, we're going to join together, we're going to make it happen. And we had a big external funding, and it was going to be go for the But She Is My Student screenplay. And we quickly realised that the money we had was nowhere near enough to make it good enough quality. So we decided just to put together... this extended trailer, and I'm not actually really meant to be showing this because we are only using this extended trailer for investors. So when we meet investors, we talk about, we've got the script, we talk about the vision, we talk about the money that we need that's huge, and we're going to show this just as a little teaser to what the story is. It's not going to be the same actresses. It's not going to be the same director. That's why it's not going to be on YouTube. It's not going to be shown at film festivals. But do you want to see it?
Yes.
It's not quite finished.
It's
not quite finished. The sound's not quite right. The colour coding or something.
Because you've got lots of people on your Instagram sort of saying, when are we going to see this? When are we going to see this?
I just say, who knows in years. For me, this is where Jade's story is very different to mine. For me, this is something for me that She Is My Student film that is always going to be in the background. I don't want to make something that, this is not great, this by all means, but this would be the quality, and it's okay. But I just think, for me, I think, it's my book, these are my characters, and the cat isn't the right cat in this, they changed the story, So I think if I want to do it, we have to have that funding. So when people do say, when's it coming out? I say, I'll keep you in the loop. And it's all these... So we are at another stage now where we do have this, where we are setting up meeting investors, and it is just hoping that somebody does see the vision. So I think this trailer for She's My Student is just trying to create a bit of a vision, but please don't judge it on the acting or the directing. It's good. I'm sure it's okay. But for me as the author, it's like, But we're going to see.
Let's play it. Let's put you out of your misery. Oh, sorry, guys. This one at the top.
This is the first time anyone's seen it. Actually, Jade doesn't know we are watching it, so let's...
Okay. I mean...
Maybe...
give it a second. No.
The left-hand corner. It's got the little red, yellow dot.
The green one, yeah. There we go.
That's it.
Go a bit louder.
It's coming out of the projector, that's why. Have you got a...
This was a male director.
Yeah, you can tell.
So as you can see, it's just a flavour. But obviously even then, the director completely changed the story in that he wanted it to be a bit like was that all in her imagination, that she just saw this girl in the club and she was thinking this thing happened and then she has to deal with her. But obviously in the book, they kiss on that first night, and then it's about the teacher having to restrain herself for the whole time. It's not titillating. And so I think from seeing that, it's been interesting and it's been fascinating, and I enjoy being on set, but it's still something for me as an author that I think I'm giving it someone who's going to make it properly, who's going to do it properly, and if we can't get to that stage through funding, I would rather have nothing than something else.
Yeah, it doesn't live up to your expectation of what you want it to be.
Yeah, completely, and that's why it's so hard, because people aren't investing in lesbian films. They're not really, and obviously people talk about crowdfunding. People would crowdfund, they would support me, and it's great, but I don't want to be responsible for their money. So my story is very different to Jade's. Whereas Jade has also got Wicked Winters films where she's really loving it, and she has made lots of actual shorts, and she's got trailers for shorts, and she's in the film festivals, and she's enjoying doing the actual directing of stuff. Her partner Ali is the producer, and they're loving it, and they're making lots of little short films themselves. So.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. I'm going to come back to you and pick up on some of those points.
Okay.
But Rachel, if you would like to introduce yourself, tell us a bit about you, what you do, what you write, and we'd like to see a little bit of what you do.
Okay. So I'm Rachel Dax. I don't really know where to start because it's hard to follow Kiki. I've been kind of hovering around between writing novels and making films for a few years now. I started my career as a religious studies teacher, got bored, and then retrained by doing a course in drama. And while I was doing my course in drama, I got into film. I also wrote a little book that did very well. Go on to my books if it will come up. Is this going to work? Called After the Night. And this sold stacks and stacks of copies. Did really, really well. And I've got a bit of a bug for writing novels. I've written 2 parts of my trilogy about Pope Joan. The third one's it's just been in edit forever because somewhere in the middle of writing it, I got a job as a university lecturer, which now takes up all my time, and I keep making films. But at some point, part 3 will actually get out there as well. It's nearly ready, but not quite. In terms of my films, let's have a look, see if we can go on to here. I've tried to make films about all parts of the LGBT community. Unfortunately for me, my YouTube channel got terminated because it got hacked by homophobes, and I lost all my wonderful hits. So this little film here called Planet Love had 2 million hits, and now it's on Vimeo with a few hundred, but I'll show it you in a minute. I have other films that aren't on this particular website that were on YouTube that were LGBT, but Caravan Site here is, well, genderqueer, non-binary. Planet Love's lesbian. A Delicate Love is gay guy. And then this one is the one that's been most exciting, if it'll let me on there. Come on, you can do it.
Let me give it a go.
Yeah, someone who can actually operate a
I
laptop.
don't know about that.
I made this film in the summer with Dame Sean Phillips and Bridget Forsyth, and that's in edit at the moment, and they worked on it as if it was a feature film. And it was an absolute privilege. I mean, Sean Phillips is extraordinary. She's had an extraordinary life. And the fact that she read my script and decided to do it, given that, she was in Dune, David Lynch film. She was in Age of Innocence with Martin Scorsese directing. And these 2 fantastic women, they rehearsed on their own in London for 3 days, and then they came down to Cardiff to make my film. And my ambition was to make Sean Phillips look like a dyke, and I think I did quite well. And one of the things I really wanted to do in this film was actually have a story where the older women were active and actually making decisions now. I've seen a few lesbian films with older protagonists, and they're usually reminiscing, and I didn't want to make a film about people reminiscing. So this is set in a residential care home, and I couldn't quite persuade them into a sex scene, but we went a certain way, and hopefully this will premiere at Flare in March. So there's, oh God, see, even at 85, she's absolutely stunning. Sean's sexual appeal is quite extraordinary. There were 25 of us on set, 20 women, all of whom fell in love with her. Even the ones in their 20s were just absolutely melting. She's got star presence like someone like Greta Garbo had. She just walks into the room and everybody just goes, whoa. Bridget's an absolute legend as well. She's as good an actor as Sean, but she doesn't have that appeal in the way that, you know, she doesn't make everybody melt in puddles, but she's a really, really lovely person. So we had an absolutely fantastic time. Can I show you?
Well, I don't know if the video is here.
The video for this isn't here, but if I go on to...
What would you like
if I go back to I'll show you Planet Love, yeah. It's only 2 minutes. I don't know if you're going to get any good sound, though.
Well, I thought
we
could we put a microphone near that? Is that a thing that you could do?
We might get dreadful feedback.
Yeah, why won't it come out of these? Why will that not happen?
I think it's hooked up, the sound's coming out of the projector rather than the speakers, I think. Well, the good thing about this is that it's a musical film, so you don't actually have to hear any dialogue, you can just about hear the lyrics.
Sorry, just for a second.
Ooh. So this was the one that had 2 million hits on YouTube, but obviously because my YouTube has been terminated, and I'm still in dispute with YouTube about it. At the moment, we're on Vimeo. It did.
How do you get to settings, somebody?
How do you use a Mac?
I have a link.
We'll see if we can get that working.
Oh. Turn the microphone. Output. Headphones.
So it's
I like
goes
it.
to
You're the
to your
sort of
mic
woman
cable,
we
which
need.
is probably linked
No,
to
this is
the
gonna
projector.
work.
No.
No.
Don't worry, we can do it without.
Sorry, I
that's
can
all right.
just about use my iPhone. Just about.
So yeah, the film I've made with Sean and Bridget will be hopefully premiering at Flare if I've got it right. I'm in the edit at the moment, so obviously
Amazing.
things can go wrong. But,
Yeah.
you know, hopefully it'll be fine. But this one is quite sweet. I made it for the internet. It's I wrote the song, but I didn't sing the song. Hopefully it'll play.
Here we go. Thank you. And I'm sorry we can't get a better sound in here. If girls, either of you two at the back fancy going and finding someone who can do tech, that would be amazing if we want to just show anything more today. Thank you, ladies. Thank you. Fab, right, okay. So again, I'm going to come back to you and we're going to have some questions for you. But Wollie, if you would like to introduce yourself. And I know. And then we do have, Kiki, you are going to talk
Speak
about,
for Jade,
speak for Jade for us. Yes,
okay.
brilliant.
Okay, hello everybody. Nice to see you all here. My name is Wollie Boehm, like volleyball, not Wally. It took me 2 years of being in the country before I realised it was an insult to be called a Wally. So I now have the actions. I'm also, for obvious reasons, known as Sam Skyborne. I thought that'll be easier to read as an author name, because I'm not there to go Wally with the book. I started off as a IT consultant and working as a business analyst, and then decided to give that up and make films, because I thought that would be a really lucrative business and career. I've made about 16 short films. I'm in huge arrears. I don't have a house, but I won't go that down there. When I started out making films, I went to a very short course, and then, because I started later on in life, I found everybody on the course was probably between 16 to 20 years old, wanting to find out about filmmaking like I was. And they would then go off to university to study filmmaking and start their careers that way. Unfortunately for me, at the age of whatever that was, 35, that wasn't really an option. So I went to join a lot of the meetup groups where, you know, kind of wannabe filmmakers try and network and bring on people in their little project. I walked into the ones in London and found that it was 90% 18 to 21-year-old boys, all looking for crew, not wanting to collaborate, and had a very different ethos in what they were trying to do to what I did. So I thought, I'll start my own little community, and I formed a group called Whipped Cream Productions in 2012. And basically that invited any women that were interested in making films, lesbian films ideally, to come and join. You had needed no experience. I didn't have any experience. So we started making films. And I'm very pleased to say that a number of them have got through to various festivals and done quite well. I've got a little one here. If we can sort the sound out, I can show it.
Hello.
What's wrong with this now?
It's just coming out of the projector currently.
Oh,
And look at us all. None of us have an idea. I'm so sorry, but thank you for coming to help.
That's all right.
Anyway, yes, so we started making a few short films, and that all went really well. But as I mentioned, there wasn't really much money or sustainability in that approach. So I decided to start writing my stories, and a number of the screenplays that I'd written with a view to make into films, I've turned into books, and that's why I've now written 3 books of Sam Skyborne.
And you've got your website, haven't you? If anyone wants to have a
Yes,
look
I
at
can.
those, and
I'll show
hopefully,
you
yeah, we can have a little.
Oh, you're not using that website?
Not at the moment.
So what was it you wanted to play then?
Where's yours, Wally?
Okay.
Wally? Sorry.
It's all right, all right.
Here we are. You can shut those doors now. Thank you. Thank you.
So I'll just show the first little short that I made as part of the Whipped Cream Productions group. The only professionals on the project were the 2 actors, and the rest of us, as I said, we were just making it up as we go along. I somehow managed to convince a very close ex-friend now of mine to use her location, her house as our location. Health and safety, well, we didn't know what that was. We were creating rain over electric cables and lighting.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was a very stressful experience, but I'll show you quickly and see what you think.
Is it on VLC you're using? No.
please.
And I'm stuck.
There we go. Got it, got it, got
Hey.
it.
Fresh and spontaneous.
Whoop.
Sorry.
We've got a bit of sound. Fab. So you'll be able to hear us at the back now. And ladies, you can
Replay?
enjoy this as well.
Thank you. Sorry.
Would it make a difference if I told you I got you a teddy?
No.
Come on, Chloe, I apologized. I got you the flowers to show you how sorry I am. What more do you want?
You just don't get it, do you? You never do. And I'm starting to worry that you never will. You hurt me. And you think you can just come home and bring me a bunch of flowers and a fluffy toy and everything will be okay. It's not that simple.
But Chloe...
And that, from you. Miss, let's keep our relationship fresh and spontaneous. What happened to that?
Will you please just listen to me?
In any case, I do not have the energy for this. I have an early morning and a big meeting tomorrow.
Chloe... Hello?
Joe, have you seen my umbrella? It's raining and I need to walk to the station.
It's where you left it.
A film you've made, you just want to cringe because there's so much you would change after the fact. So I made that, but obviously we created that on a budget of £300, with paying the actresses actually £150. But as a result, if you want your actresses to take their clothes off to do a sex scene, you have to pay them good money, to make it worth their while. So as a result, I wrote a book instead, where rather than having kiss cut to the morning after, there is actually a sex scene in the short story of this film, with the idea of trying to compare what the effect is and whether it's really worthwhile to have a sex scene and whether it is gratuitous. So I've encouraged some of my readers to give me feedback on that. And so far, they all said yes.
Thank you so much for sharing those. I'm just really worried. I don't want anyone to miss out on asking any questions because the time has flown. So I want to ask you guys now if anybody would like to ask a question, just in case you don't get the opportunity to. No. Oh, thanks, Karen. To jump into that. Go on, Rachel, yeah.
I think you can be much more ambitious in a book because of the funding issue. My books are historical. If I was to turn After the Night into a feature film, it would cost me a minimum of £4 million and it would still be crap on that budget. Legend of Pope Joan, probably 10 million in a film, still be crap on that budget. So, so basically in your writing as a novelist, you can be extremely ambitious in terms of the stories you're telling. In your writing as a filmmaker, especially as a lesbian filmmaker, you have to be realistic. So the film that I just made in the summer, I made that, well, I thought I was going to make it on £7,000 and then Sian and Bridget came on board and it went up to £13,000 and that was really just set in one location, a nursing home, and it was still, it's bankrupted me again. My partner has been wanting a new kitchen for about 12 years. We still have no new kitchen because all my money goes on making films. And Kiki talked about it, getting the money's a nightmare. You've talked about it. I tried to get a feature film off the ground a few years ago called Band Girls. I got people talking about it on the radio in Cardiff. I had quite a well-known cast. Couldn't get the money. It's so difficult because people will not invest in lesbian projects in the same way they'll invest in straight projects. They don't see that they're going to get that return on their investment. So you have to think much smaller and more realistically, which is very sad, really tragic. But unfortunately, at the moment, it's the way it is. One would hope that there is going to be a shift. There's a few lesbian feature films coming out this next few months. There's one with Rachel Weisz coming out next week, isn't it? It's done quite well in America. But again, those people who are making those films have got a huge amount of money to spend compared to the likes of us where it's very, very difficult.
Yeah. And do you think, you know, if they're not putting the funding in because they don't feel like they're going to get a return, is that because essentially that they won't? Is it from experience, or do they give you sort of an honest response?
I don't think there is actually a substantial enough audience for the cost of filmmaking at this point. We haven't found that audience, and that audience is not wider enough. With things like Priscilla or kind of the more mainstream gay films, it's the mainstream that holds that up as an enterprise.
I think you look at Brokeback Mountain, there hasn't been a lesbian Brokeback Mountain, and that was really gay, wasn't it? And it was amazing, and everyone loved it. So I think there is, that they will invest at some point. They will, someone will take the plunge, and like Love, Simon. Love, Simon was amazing. It's an amazing film, like the teen coming out film, and that's just happened, but still even that film was all about the anxiety of coming out, and really we've moved on so much from there, and the filmmakers thinking, we're now dip our toes here. But I still believe that you think big, you dream big, and we'll go home.
And what about with the likes of, obviously you've got Netflix now and YouTube, you can put films onto YouTube. With things like that, is that a more accessible way of you making, you know, producing a film and putting it out there, or is it still comes down to budget at the end of the day?
You get a lot of exposure via YouTube, and that's great, but it doesn't necessarily get you money. So I've been to panels of Film Cymru Wales, which dishes out the BFI funding money, and said, hey, I've got 2 million hits on YouTube, and like, well, that doesn't make any difference. Actually, so getting money, and it's interesting because a lot of these schemes, they say, we want to encourage people from LGBT backgrounds and different ethnic backgrounds, and actually it's still 27-year-old guys that they give the money to. And when you see, and you might get one woman who's been given some money, and you know, and it's really depressing. So even the schemes that are supposed to be there to help you get further, they don't actually support you particularly. When you see the list of who they've given the money to, it's usually white males around the age of, say, 27 to 30.
Or ones that are really well established, like Mike Lee, or you know.
For the next tier up of funding. But like even just like short film funding, you know, they say that they're trying to widen participation, but the reality is they always play it safe. So, and safe to them is white male, roughly from 27 to 30 years old for short film money, and then older male for feature film money. So you are fighting a constant battle. There's no two ways about it.
Can I just, one extra thing to answer that question? There's one positive side of the books is obviously what you can create in a book, but also in terms of getting inside the characters' heads. I've not been able to achieve that in the filmmaking process as easily as one does in a book. So the type of story you write, in my view, the type of story you end up writing for a novel is remarkably different to what you would try and put into the film, because that's, you know, although you don't tell in a novel, but you have more of an ability to have, you know, dialogue as an internal dialogue. So I think, but that's the positive side of making the books.
We had a question. Yes.
You talked about exterior resistance for lesbian stories. I wanted to know from all of you if in the beginning of your career, whether it's for a book or for a movie, if you have experienced inner resistance to write stories about lesbians, if you were tempted to write straight stories, and how did you manage to overcome the difficulties with yourself and with the work, the production world?
I think in terms of books, I think there is a huge market for lesbian fiction. People don't realise how huge it is in the UK, in America. I make my living from that. I used to be a teacher, and I am more as an author. And there is a huge market, and there's never been any resistance. I have a big straight readership now, because I'm always using the phrase that you can read about mermaids, you can read about murderers. Doesn't make you want to be a mermaid or a murderer. Doesn't mean you are a mermaid or a murderer. So why can't straight women read about same-sex love? And it's just getting past that. So I give my books to some of my friends, and they're like, "Oh, my husband wasn't keen." So, what's his problem? What it doesn't. You read about all sorts of other stuff. So there is a huge market, and I think the straight market definitely is picking up on it as well now. So I've never experienced any problem someone saying, "I don't want to read about lesbians," because then you think, well, that's really silly because you'll read about wizards and you'll read, that's actually just homophobia. So no, never had a problem.
That's brilliant to hear. Has anyone had a different experience?
Yes, I think I have. I think we were talking about this earlier. I think that's definitely true in the lesbian romance, specifically in lesbian romance genres. But with my stories are more speculative as opposed to romance, and I found that people, if they're wanting a good crime novel, they will tend to go to things that are mainstream. Whereas if you're looking for lesbian fiction and you're wanting a good lesbian romance, then obviously you'll go to that. So I think that is changing, and I think as the generations are progressing, the younger generation more so now will specifically go and look for, a lesbian superhero or a, lesbian axe murderer or, something like that. But it's just starting to come through in the speculative fiction and other genres, in my view.
Brilliant.
And I've had no resistance to writing LGBT stories at all, but I just tend to find that a story will arise and I'll write it, but it's usually LGBTQ. I think I said the film I made before this was a gay boy film. I don't have any boundaries in terms of what I write about, but I seem to be definitely under the LGBT umbrella. I've written one film script about a non-LGBT person, and that's Mary Seacole, who was a black woman who was written out of history, and I'd really, really like to make that film. But again, it's still about somebody who's been marginalised, and it's about identity. So I think the same themes are coming through in that, even though that's not quite LGBT. But generally, I've had no resistance because I'm just a dyke and I can't help it. So,
Well, has anyone got any last questions? Because I'd really like to get the chance to show Jade's stuff. Yeah, go for it.
I have a problem. Something I have never done, so I have no experience. And now I'm trying to write a script. And then there are some things that I don't know how to write.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't, for example, like two characters, and I don't know how to let them fall in love. And
yeah, I know what you're saying.
Right,
it's
what
how
do you
you're
know?
Yeah, so
Have you fallen in love?
Experience, and so do you have any
advice
about something the writer self have never done?
experienced before?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Can I ask a question?
yeah.
So when you say you've never experienced it, that comes to speaks to Kiki's comment. Have you not fallen in love, or have you not ever written about falling in love?
Getting personal.
Good luck to put you on the spot.
She came to this panel.
Yeah, sorry.
From China.
Because you don't have to answer. Sorry. So my point is just that there are so many books and people that can teach you how to write about it. So my suggestion would be this to echo Kiki and say, write what you do know as a start to get you going, and then you go into territories that you have no idea about. Once you've learned your tools, then it's easier.
Make it much more exciting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it a script or a novel that you're thinking of writing? Is it a film script or a novel?
I want to write as a film script, but maybe I also want it like a fiction.
Yeah, okay. So the main difference is with a film script you have to show it. So you don't say, oh, I'm in love with you or anything like that. You have to show it through looks and reactions and moments that are captured without dialogue. In a book, you write a lot, and you can do a lot of internal dialogue about how the character's feeling. The way I tend to do it in books is if I go into a character's thoughts, I put them in italic font, so you get what's going on in their head, but you can't do that in film. It all has to be what you see, not what you hear. So they always say, show, don't tell in film, and with books it's the other way around to a certain degree. So I would say start with one and see how it goes, and if you find it impossible, flip to the other medium and have a go at that. That would be my advice.
Brilliant, thank you for that advice. And hope if you need, you know, I'm sure these guys are happy
I'll talk to you, yeah.
to chinwag afterwards if you want to kind of pick their brains a little bit more. Did you want to ask something there? Yeah, go on.
I'm just wondering if you guys as writers and as filmmakers ever get the feeling that you're tied to one certain kind of genre. Not talking about queer being as a genre, because it's not really. Like, I mean, like either romance or drama, because we do see so much drama, lesbian drama, and yeah, it is a thing that I talk to all my friends. Like, everybody's really desperately wanting some light-hearted comedy that's also gay. So I don't know. Like, do you guys feel like you gravitate to some kind of?
No. I have, I've in my filmmaking, I've made over 16 different films, and I've tried every form from narrative to non-fiction to music videos to straight, gay, you know, across the board. And in my fiction, my novels, well, my first one is a superhero novel, my second one was a coming-out detective story, and my third one is a psychological thriller set in South Africa. So I'm still trying to find my feet. I think a lot of indie authors will say it's easier if you do write a series, but there's so little out there, why not try a few things? And you know, that's my view.
Your turn.
Is there any chance I could use my answer time just to show Jade's little clip? Okay, just she wants to.
I wasn't going to leave her out, Kiki.
I know,
We was going to watch her to finish.
Do you need me to open that up?
I think we're okay. If we've got time, I just don't want us to leave.
don't
Then
be
Jade's like,
silly.
"Did you show my stuff?" I'm like, no.
Well,
Don't forget Jade. We're not forgetting
Exactly,
Jade.
but I do write chick lit, light-hearted chick lit always. Is that okay? Yeah.
Yeah. While you set, do you want to set that up?
Yeah.
Very quickly.
We don't.
If it's been shut off.
Oh.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've predominantly done romance, historical romance, or contemporary romance, but the next project I want to do is a sci-fi, and that. But again, that will have to, you know, have some money behind it. So again, I think sometimes you can be straitjacketed by your budget, but I would love to do a sci-fi very much, really, very much.
Okay.
There you go. Sorry about that. So we're going to. Would you like to introduce Jade?
Yes, Jade Winters unfortunately can't be here. She gets very anxious around crowds unless it's a bar. I said I don't think it's going to matter much here, but it's a shame she's not here because she really has got the bug for filmmaking. And the guys that we used for the Bitch Is My Student and a couple of others before that, she worked with them on a few short films. She learned what they were doing, and she has now directed her first short, and her wife Ali has produced it, and they also had their friend, another female director. So we're gradually working separately, getting to the point where we're all honing our skills. I'm not sure what I'm doing the promo side of things, but she is working behind the scenes. This is the trailer for her film, The Love Letter. It's a short film that is going to go into all the festivals. I think she's done about 3 now with Wicked Winters Productions, and she loves it, and she's good, and I think this is going to be good. So, Jade Winters, The Love Letter.
It's not, there's no feed.
Sorry,
here we go.
It had to turn it back on.
And we're there.
There we go.
So this is an actual short film. This is just the trailer for the short film that's coming out.
My dearest Belle, I know the last time we met things were, shall I say, heartbreaking.
I'm proud of our love, even if you're not.
It's too hard.
Anything important? Where'd you get this? You must have dropped it with the post. What is wrong with you? There's nothing wrong with me. I'm just surprised you have time for anything that doesn't revolve around the baby. This poor woman spent her entire life not knowing that Hannah chose her. Sometimes I think I know how that feels. I need to find a woman who used to live in this house. We can search for Belle in the electoral roll. We? find Belle and give her her happy ending, eh?
Please, call me Belle.
Yes.
So it's good, and it's looking good. I think you can see it's with each of these they are getting better. But then hopefully when we get this huge chunk of investment, we will have a big female team behind everything, and that's the vision, that's the plan. But yeah. Yeah. Well, you'll be able to soon. It'll be out. It's coming out soon. They're putting it into all the film festivals. And one of her short films has been. They went over to. I don't know how to say it. Cannes. And yeah, they went over there a few months ago because one of them got one of those things. So yeah, she's
that
loving
very
it.
impressive award that
We
one might get
and
at Cannes,
Jade
yes.
go on nights out and we talk about these things we're going to get. One day we're going to get we're going to get loads of these. Well, she's already getting them.
Yeah,
so she
she's
really,
doing well if she's getting laurels.
as the author, who has now, she's a much better person to be sat here talking about the author who's turned into filmmaker because she's actually making the film. She's actually directing them now.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that for us.
Okay.
I feel like we could have another hour or two because we've barely scratched the surface of these guys. But please, thank you so much, Kiki, Rachel, Wollie, and please do come and chat to them after you guys are around, aren't you? So
thank you, Helen.
Thank you. Thank you.